Hey, Brandon, the last time I talked to you, my man, we were gearing up for the Aussie leg of the Imploding the Mirage tour, and then a little thing called
Yeah.
COVID hit.
Yeah.
Sadly, that never happened. But I guess the great thing for Killers fans is that two Killers records in the space of 12 months is that, well, I doubt it was something you planned. I guess it was something that came about due to circumstance.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was a pleasant surprise. We didn't know what was around the corner every day. The news was getting bleaker, and there was a lot of just a lot of things were up in the air, and we decided to just get back to work. And luckily enough, the songs were flowing, and we were able to make another record. It's the quickest turnaround that we've ever had. It was kind of like the golden days of rock when people used to put out two albums in a year. Was that you always read about that stuff, but we've never been able to do that, so it's really nice.
That's it. And conceptually, the record is very different to your previous works, and it all centers around where you grew up in Utah, Brandon.
Yes, Nephi, Utah is a very small rural town in Utah, 3,000 people when I was there, and people kept talking about isolation and quarantine, and we felt those things, and it reminded me of my time there. When I was, I lived there from when I was 10 till I was 16, and I just I couldn't help but reminisce about that time there for some reason. It just kept going back there in my thoughts, and each song just was there.
Mm.
And so it became I started thinking about books that one of my favorite authors is, obviously Steinbeck is a heavy hitter, and he has this book called Pastures of Heaven where it's all these short stories, but they all kind of revolve around each other, and they're all based in this one valley. And so I kind of took license to do that on a record, I guess.
Yeah. And there's this real like tenebrous, desolate feeling across most of the record and especially Terrible Thing. It's just straight up heartbreaking. Ronnie, would you say the tone of the record really reflects, the period in which it was created?
Well, I definitely think that having such a an atmosphere definitely forced us to think differently and be inspired by different things that would probably cast off to the side for a more energetic sort of record or series of recordings or something. I think being stuck at home makes you it forces you to be more introspective and get more personal, and there was a feeling, when your government says you can't leave your house, like you've got to stay at home. There was this sort of feeling of like the sky is falling type of thing, which puts you in a mood, puts you in a zone. And so you could see, even though this record's about the majority of it's about this small town in Utah, but you could also say it's probably the more honest records that we've made, just because it's forced us to just feel a certain way, I guess.
I can feel that as well. And I don't know if you meant it to compliment Imploding the Mirage at all, but like I was driving home. It was a really sunny day in Sydney yesterday, and I live in like southwest Sydney in the hills, all that sort of business, like the Utah of Australia. And it was a really beautiful sunny afternoon. I just thought if Imploding the Mirage was like a Saturday night, this felt like a Sunday afternoon. You know what I mean? It was just a really nice natural follow-on from that record.
Well, that's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're going to use that. We're going to use that from now on.
Please.
Writing that down.
And don't credit me either, because I'm used to that.
Oh, yeah. So are we.
I'm really.
That's the thing that we always forget is the sort of progression of things and the links. To us, this seems like such a departure because we're forced to be in this, like I said, zone. But I think to people that sort of get more of a more perspective, I guess, there are some tie-ins that it's nice to know that they're threads.
Well, it feels very of the time, and I'm really interested in the title Pressure Machine as well. It is, the 10th track on the record, but where does that derive? What is that in reference to?
Oh, just about, I hope that it translates, for people in Australia, but just the pressure in America to produce and to succeed and that stuff starts, or even the pressure, you start being evaluated when you're a kid, how you respond to pressure. And sometimes you get marked unfairly, at an early age at what your worth is because of the way that you're responding. And I think that kind of compounded by the religious pressure that I see people maybe apply it to themselves sometimes unnecessarily. It's just like I thought, well, it's almost like this machine that we've created in America, and it's not just Wall Street, it's these small towns too that are going through it. And so that was where the title came from.
There's a beautiful Americana feel across the whole record. You've been dabbling with that for a few records now, but this is straight up Americana, which I love. And there's obvious influences like Bruce Springsteen and stuff. But to my ear, I get a real Neil Young vibe, just especially in the storytelling as well. Was that purposeful?
He's definitely entered the chat. Recently. But, a lot of those, some those guys, people like him and Prine and Tom Waits and and Jackson Brown and all these guys have sort of, as we've gotten older, have started to mean more to us. And so, yeah, you're not far off. Yeah.
And Ronnie, I mean, it's not a drum heavy record. You'd be the first to admit that. What's it like sort of, taking that step back, and when you're not as focused on the drums, are you, structurally sort of working elsewhere within the piece?
Yeah. I mean, it's actually nice to be able to sort of just kind of throw the drums on as sort of a last bit of icing on the cake. A lot of times in pop music, the beat gets, perhaps more than it should. I did some guitarings on this record as well, so it was nice to sort of step into that.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was that we were just around each other because we couldn't be around anybody else, and we also like each other. We lived 10 minutes away, and so it was just sort of, the doodles and things like that. The drums are sort of the last thing I was thinking about, because we were just, a lot of times in a studio or in a living room or in my place or in a little podunk studio in Utah, just sort of making scribbles and scratches on and ideas and things like that. So it's even though it's my principal instrument, my primary my sort of goal is to make sure that songs get off the ground and make sure that we all get to the top of the mountain.
Well, that's it. And it's a tremendous mark of a musician as well, because I play the drums, and growing up, you and Matt Helders of Arctic Monkeys, my absolute favourite drummers. And I've just noticed, going further into your careers, you step back more, which, it takes a lot for a drummer to do that, because the drummer in my band just won't shut the fuck up. So, I think it's an incredible mark to be able to do that, to have that, it's like, well, this doesn't need me. The song doesn't need me here. I'll focus my talents elsewhere. So, good on you, I guess, whatever, if that means anything coming from me.
Thank you. Of course. Thanks.
And of course, it is a really interesting dynamic, because, Dave and Mark haven't toured with the band for a few tours now. All this downtime, and they said it was because of burnout and that sort of stuff. All this downtime, has that sort of stoked the fire for, the founding quartet to tour when all this is done?
I remember, I won't say who, but I think this downtime, or as I was saying in the last interview, this feeling of the sky is falling really made some people in the band sort of take a few steps back to really to have this perspective of like, wow, we've done something pretty fucking great, and I don't want to take it for granted anymore. And I feel like it's a special thing, and so there's been some, perhaps more introspection than usual within the band. I'm not just calling one person out, but I'm sure all of us have felt this during this time, because it's when something this sort of monumental happens on planet Earth, you're forced to step back and reassess and look at your situation and other people's situations, and sort of, we feel lucky. So I think that's,
in short, yes. Tracks on the record, respectively, everyone, any artist that puts out a record has one or maybe two that resonates with them deeply. Respectively, what are your favorite tracks on the record?
I think I go back to Quiet Town a lot. And then again, going back to a terrible thing is a real achievement, just a personal achievement for me, for us to be able to to show that much restraint because we're so accustomed to writing these big songs. We're in the business of the big time, and so it's tough for us to show that kind of restraint.
That broke me, man.
One
song.
One of my favorites was the Getting By, which is, maybe people will know it when the deluxe version comes out, but the Getting By had several different sort of incarnations as a song, and it was big. It was your sort of quintessential Killers stuff, but we deliberately dialed it back so much to make it breathe, to make this emotion sort of the raw emotion part of it kind of flow into it. And I was listening to that yesterday, and it's awesome. It's great. And it's great that we also have multiple versions of it, but the one that we chose for the record shows a lot of restraint, but it also might speak the loudest as well.
Absolutely.
And Pressure Machine is just like, hey, listen to that on repeat for a long time.
That's it. I like In the Car Outside. I know you guys didn't ask me and I'm interviewing you, but I just thought I'd share which one I like the best. We do a little thing called Oztober here as well, a delicious portmanteau of October and Aussie music. And it's we showcase Australian music all month. Now, I know you guys love Aussie music because you covered Icehouse in our garage session. Did you ever hear what Ivor Davies said about that?
No, what I knew he said something favorable.
Would you like to hear it from the horse's mouth? I have it.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is what Ivor Davies said about your cover of Electric Blue.
Absolutely my favourite cover version that's ever been done of any of our songs, and have absolute respect for those guys because they're a brilliant band. And I wouldn't have thought it would be something that would pop up under their radar.
What about that?
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, man.
That is pretty sweet. You zoom out and you can see the gun to his head.
Is that your favourite Aussie? I'll ask you both, separately. Brandon, is that your favourite Aussie song of all time? And if not, what is?
Oh man, now I don't want to say. I don't want to. It's not that I love things everything. It's more than him.
Yeah.
But I had one prepared because we had done when we did the AFL final, we did Forgotten Years.
Yes. And
I think that's if you held a gun to my head, I think that's probably my favorite Australian rock and roll song. But man, Electric Blue is damn close.
It's like he's already said it. He can't take away the compliment. Don't worry. What about you, Ronnie?
Yeah, I concur. Electric Blue is up there, and we're just huge Midnight Oil fans as well as In Excess. And there was a bunch of I was sort of thinking about early Aussie punk stuff and about all the punk bands that would go and move to the UK, form in Australia, and then move to the UK. There's just so much great music that continues to come out of Australia as well. It makes me want to move there.
And fair, and we will have you anytime. What is it about the Oils? Because, for us, growing up with the Oils and stuff, I'm pretty sure they only had one big single in the US. I think it was Beds of Burning.
Yeah.
They're a very parochial band for us, so it always spins our minds when, people from the US or the UK go, oh, we love them. It's because it's so politically charged, but it's so authentically Australian. What is it, about the Oils that, captures your imagination so much?
They have this, it reminded me of the Clash or Bob Marley in a sense, where there's this revolution that there's, that they seem to be ready to front. You know what I mean? And I think good rock and roll can help, can give you an escape or an outlet. But there's something about great rock and roll that grabs you by the face and forces you to look at something in a different way. Yeah. And Midnight Oil just does that over and over and over again. It's relentless, and it takes it takes balls to do that as a band and not try for the hit or to follow the trend. And I just respect that so much about Midnight Oil.
Hey, an absolute pleasure. Hopefully, some sort of tour takes place in the near future, and I can come do a sound check, because if I saw a killer sound check, bucket list ticked for me. So
you could come drum. Come drum.
Yeah,
drum.
Your ass on the drums.
I would shit myself. but
Pick a song, man.
I would promptly change, and I would do my best. Thank you both so much. An absolute pleasure, and congratulations on the album too. It is super different, but man, I really dig it, and I think it's so timely and so important at this time. So good on you, legends.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.